landscape has changed dramatically for online marketing for businesses. And you're in the business of helping those businesses do better.
I don't do any cold email. I've grown the agency completely organically.
You've built a really solid business.
The 200 to 250,000 a month. We've been kind of at that mark for the past 3 years.
You're saying that Twitter is coming back. So I'm really curious about that. And I'm curious about your LinkedIn experience and that sort of thing.
You know, knock on wood, I think the algorithm is actually better than it's ever been now.
What's changed about your approach to SEO this year and maybe into next year?
What we found was that with AI and stuff like that, content, it doesn't generate sales, right? Or it doesn't generate clicks.
Where do links, authority, and all that come into play for you, both from the SEO side of things, but also as ever-changing AI landscape?
20 to 30% of our work is content, and then 70% is links. If you're an SEO agency and you're not providing AI SEO services, you are really shooting yourself in the foot.
How have you as an agency infused AI into your backend?
But one area that we have effectively integrated AI is just
Welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today, we have a returning guest, a bit of a blast from the past, really, Keval Shah from Inbound Pursuit. Keval, welcome back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jared. Exciting to be back on, especially because Niche Pursuits was a pretty big influence for me when I was learning SEO over 10 years ago. So cool to be back on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
We were struggling to try to find your interview from before you were on. We've determined it was around summer of 2021. We had a hard time finding it, probably because so many interviews have happened in between then. But you're a returning guest. You were a great interview. One of my first ones I remember hosting, and I remember really enjoying meeting you. You and I have kept in contact over the years. Had a couple calls and whatnot, but I think I'll kick it off by saying this and give us your backstory. A lot of people are new to listening, but I will say that a lot has changed since you were on in 2021. And we're going to be talking about a lot of what's changed, but give us that backstory, catch people up, not only to pre-2021, but even to today.
Yeah, sure. So, goes back. I mean, I think I started SEO probably in around 2010 or something like that, or 2011, or it was kind of around high school, maybe a little bit of middle school. I can't remember, but I've been doing SEO for a really long time. And, I got in through it through blogs, basically. I think initially I got into it because I like the idea of having a website, which kind of I could write my own content and just have my own space on the web. So first I was into designing websites and stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm writing content. How do I get people to actually visit the content? So that's how I got into learning SEO. And I learned through, guys like yourself on Niche Pursuits. I learned through Nathan Gotch. I learned through ProBlogger, right? And then, wrote my niche sites, made, a couple $100 a month off that Google AdSense, which was cool, right? Cause I was in high school, or, it was just really crazy to have money coming, online. Eventually I went to college. I decided for whatever reason at that point that SEO was just a hobby and it wasn't a sustainable career because, that's just what I figured at the time. And so I went into computer science. Computer science, I was awful at it. I was just so bad. I failed out pretty fast out of computer science. Part of the reason was because I didn't like it. The other part was I was just partying too much, and I got into a pretty bad drinking habit for a long time. Ended up not finishing college. I actually still don't have my degree. I have one class left. I was thinking about finishing it this winter.
One class.
It's one class, right? I literally called them a couple months ago just out of curiosity. Yeah, you only need one class to graduate. I'm like, I might as well do it. So I might finish that up, but never got my degree. With my SEO background, my first 9-to-5 job, I worked at an agency. Didn't really like how they did SEO. It just, I don't know, it just wasn't the right strategies to actually drive revenue. It was more just about blog content for local businesses, and blog content for local businesses, I would argue, are kind of pointless, right? So I decided, hey, I think I could do this better. Quit that job, got some remote job running ads for another company just so I can kind of stay afloat. Started my account on X, started posting, quit drinking around that time so I could get serious, and, built my business in 2019, and I've been doing it since, and I've just been kind of scaling it up and pretty happy with the progress I've made.
You run an agency, and you have had a lot of growth over the years. And obviously, everybody listening is going to know the landscape has changed dramatically
Yeah.
for online marketing for businesses. And a lot of people are struggling today with the way that the online world works for their side hustle, for
Mhm.
their small business, for their SaaS product, for their e-commerce business, and you're in the business of helping those businesses do better. Maybe
Yeah.
take us a bit of a trajectory or timeline on how you grew inbound pursuit, when you started it, maybe with whatever you're comfortable where you're at today, and then
Yeah.
we can get into what's working right now, what you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I started inbound pursuit, it was a bit of a mistake, honestly. 2018, 2019-ish is when I kinda started, like, posting content on X. And honestly, when I was posting content on X, I wasn't really, like, trying to get leads. I was more so just, like, trying to share myself. I think I just needed, like at that time in my life, I just needed, like, a form of self-expression. And, I saw this really cool community of, like, entrepreneurs online on X, and they were trying to improve their lives and, like, make money and, like, all this stuff, and I just thought it was a cool environment to be in, a cool community to be a part of and to kinda share myself in. And so I just kind of like started posting whatever thoughts about life, this and that, right? But something I noticed was everyone was always posting value, right? So I thought what else can I bring to the table besides just like my thoughts on life? And looking back now, it's not like I was an expert at it or anything like that, but I was just still posting away. And so I knew SEO pretty well, so I started posting about SEO. For some reason at that time, I thought I needed to like really know like digital marketing. I was like, I'm not an SEO guy, I'm a marketer. So I was trying to post about like Facebook ads and stuff, even though I didn't know anything about Facebook ads. And then eventually I was just like, okay, let me just focus on what I know. Let me focus on SEO. And then at the time, alongside of me like posting and being a part of this community, I joined a couple coaching groups on how to like get clients online for SEO, right? And I was like doing like LinkedIn automation. I was doing some cold email, having no success with that at all. In the meantime, I'm posting on X, right? Posting thoughts on SEO, life, whatever. And then all of a sudden I get, a book a call, through my website. And I closed them for 2 grand a month. And I was like, oh my God, like I've been on like 20 sales calls from LinkedIn automation and I have not closed anyone. And all of a sudden I get on this call from this random guy on X and he's like, yeah, I really like the content you're posting. It was the worst sales call ever because he was out in Singapore and I woke up really early in the morning to jump on the call. My voice was all groggy and like I couldn't think straight. And I was like pitching him and I didn't have any client results. I didn't have any case studies. I just gave him the price of like 2 grand. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And I remember I went back, I was working a job at the time, and I was like, in the office and I saw like the Stripe notification go up and he had paid like the 2 grand invoice. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like I'm making at this point, like, my first agency job was like 40K a month or something like that. This second job was 55K. And then I went and got the remote position I mentioned before. But the second job I had, I was getting paid like 55K a year or something. And I just got paid 2 grand for like one SEO contract, which was like a month, which was like, you know, almost like half my my monthly earnings. So it was just insane. And so at that point, I dropped the cold email, I dropped the LinkedIn
Yeah.
automation sequences, and I was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna go all in on content because it is just the best way to, share expertise and build trust," right? If you're posting results constantly and people get to know you and they see your content and you post personal stories and they feel like they can relate to you as a person, they're gonna be much more likely to trust you because at the end of the day, closing clients, it's a game of trust, right? I mean, there's a lot of pretender agencies out there who, are really good at just taking people's money. And that's why agencies have a bad rep because these agencies come in, they close deals, they make the onboarding call sound like or the sales call sound like amazing, right? And then, they come in and they just don't do a very good job, right? Um, but here it's like in this case, it's like, you can kind of circumvent that whole process by building trust with people and getting them to buy into you as a person and then closing that deal. So it kind of uh, it, it gets rid of that objection of like, why should I trust you? Right? Why aren't you like other agencies? Because they know who you are as a person through your content. So I've been focused on that, right? I've grown my X account to over like 55,000 followers at this point. I just started posting on LinkedIn this year. I hate LinkedIn. I don't really like the community that much on LinkedIn, if I'm going to be honest. So I kind of just post and ghost, don't really interact. been growing on there. I've been posting a couple YouTube videos, and I mean, yeah, I've never run ads. I don't do any cold email. I've grown the agency completely organically, and yeah, all my leads come from social media and referrals because we do good work.
Where is your agency at today in terms of whether it's number of clients or,
Mhm.
MRR or,
Yeah.
depending on how you measure that?
Yeah, we've been at a little over 200 grand a month, so 200 to 250,000 a month. We've been kind of at that mark for the past like 3 years or so. And I really have no interest in growing it past that mark, right? Like when I built this business, like I'm not trying to build a 50-person agency because I truly believe that scale comes at a cost of quality, right? I'm trying to keep this more of a boutique agency, and we just kind of maintain, the MRR number of clients that we have. And that's just my goal. I like having a lifestyle business, right? I like being able to not have to work crazy hours every day because when I started the agency, I was working crazy hours, right? And since I've started, I've been able to put systems in place, hire some really smart people to like handle a lot of the day to day so that I can kind of focus on, bringing in new leads, working with clients kind of directly to make sure they're happy with the service and making sure that the SEO work is like top notch. And that's just what I enjoy. Like I don't enjoy. I'm not going to enjoy working with 100 clients or having an agency where we have 50 people and everybody is like, we have all these different services that we offer. It's like SEO is our game. That's what we do, and we're boutique, and that's the way I want to keep it.
I wanna talk to you a bit about how you've grown the business to where it's at,
Yeah,
off of no ads.
yeah,
We'll say no outbound outreach. You tried it, didn't work. So
yeah,
you tried it, but it didn't lead to business. But I mean, 200K a month is absolutely nothing to sneeze at, especially with, margins typically are what they are for an agency. It's not like you're ecom and you're making 5 or 10% of the spread there. So
yeah.
you've built a really solid business. And I'm curious some of the details that go into that. Like, how have you found growing the business? What challenges have you found along the way, and what focuses have you developed in order to get the business to where it's at? Because you haven't done a lot of outbound outreach and you haven't done a lot of ad spend.
Yeah, I mean, one really big challenge that you run into is when you're doing content, you're kind of a slave to the algorithm. So when, the algorithm changes and your content isn't getting as much reach, obviously it hurts, right? And so we went through a period for a long time with X where, Elon bought it and he's been like messing around with it a lot. And, for the last like 2 years or so, the algorithm just hasn't been like that great. Like
I was
it's
going to
been
ask you about that. So I'm glad you brought it up.
It hasn't been great. Like, I mean, I haven't been posting as much the last couple years just because it's sort of demoralizing to put all this effort into a post and then just like nothing happens, right? So
And I
in
think
that
a lot of people have tried to lean in on LinkedIn because of that, right? So I'm glad you brought it up. I wanted to ask you about it and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, that's why I started trying to post on LinkedIn. And, I mean, full transparency, it brought me a lot of anxiety. It was
Yeah.
a tough couple years where right, where I was like, "Man, how do I sustain this business?" Right? I thought about selling it. I thought about, like, a number of different ways to kinda grow it. I thought about getting into ads and stuff like that. But, what really saved me, is we get a lot of referrals. And it's just because we do good work, right? Like, we have a very specific niche we work with, which is like e-commerce brands, right? We work with a lot of like pretty big e-commerce brands in the space, and we do good work for them. And because of that, we get referrals. So for the last 2 years, the majority of our leads have come from referrals, right? LinkedIn hasn't really sent me a whole lot. Like I've been posting on LinkedIn and I'm still pretty early on it, but it I don't know how good it is for lead generation, at least in the e-commerce space, right? It's going to depend. Like, LinkedIn is I've heard people say it's a tremendous lead source, but for me in the e-commerce space, I haven't seen a ton just yet. But I kind of got saved because like we do good SEO work and we just get a lot of referrals that kept us kind of at the same MRR, same number of clients and stuff, which has been great. Um, but recently in the last 3 or 4 months or so, they've actually fixed the X algorithm, which is kind of wild to think about because I thought that platform was dead. And, knock on wood, I think the algorithm is actually better than it's ever been now. And s
Okay. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
why? Because that would be new information to someone like me, but also other people and a lot of people who, to your point, have said Well, and again, I'm taking it from a higher level, right? I'm trying to talk to the person who's listening, who
Yeah.
is saying, I want to grow something that harnesses my skill sets. Maybe it's
You
content creation, maybe it's UGC, maybe it's SEO, right? But is organic is the organic method of growing a business dead? And so that's why I'm trying to get into like how you grew it, but also what's relevant for today. And you perfectly segued without me even having to ask. And now you're
yeah.
you're saying that Twitter is coming back. So I'm really curious about that, and I'm curious about your LinkedIn experience and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you the cheat code for X, right?
Hey everyone, just a quick break from the interview for something important. You know that AI is changing search and how tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google's AI, how they decide which brands actually show up. And that's exactly why my agency, 201 Creative, put together the GEO Snapshot Audit. So it shows how AI is interpreting your brand across 5 key categories, and it pinpoints what's missing so you can start appearing in AI-driven results. We've already done a bunch of these for Niche Pursuits listeners, and the feedback has been awesome. Renee said, it gave me insights that I've never seen anywhere else. Tony said, through the report, I was able to make a quick but important change to my site that I had no idea was having negative impacts. So you can grab yours at 201creative.com/GEO snapshot. Again, that's 201creative.com/GEO snapshot. Spots are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone. All right, let's get back to the interview.
When you have a good following, like now that the algorithm is kind of fixed, like you could post content and it's going to get pretty good visibility. It has to be good content, right? It long form content works really good there, right? In the past, it used to be kind of short form content, but now it's a long form content that works. You want to get people to click that read more button because dwell time and interaction with the post is like a really big ranking factor, right? So or like not rank, I'm stuck in SEO world,
you,
but
you and me both.
reach factor, I guess you could say, right? It's really important to get people to sit on your post for a long time. So obviously long form posts are going to do that. Get them to click into the post. Long form posts will do that, right? You have to engage with the post. So long form works really, really well. However, if you're starting from scratch, it's really hard. It's really hard to grow. It's hard to grow on any social media platform, right? So what I did on X all those years back is I just paid someone to engage with me, right? I paid someone to retweet my post. Retweets don't do as much anymore on X. That's one thing that's way different than the past. Now it's like comments and likes. Comments for sure is what kind of boosts engagement. But like you can jump into like engagement pods or you can like, pay people to just like promote your content on their profile. And that's what I did for myself. And it worked great, right? Is it technically against like Twitter's terms of service? Probably, but it works, right? That's how I got my first like 5K followers was I just like paid someone to like repost my content and like engage with my content because it gave it reach and I got followers. Now, of course, you still need good content, right? Because you need that to convert. You need that to convert in followers. So if you post good content, you get someone to, repost your stuff, you're gonna grow. People say stuff like being like a reply guy and like, replying to like 100 accounts a day and stuff like that. I guess that works. I've never done that, but it sounds like a waste of time to me. Or not a waste of time. It's helpful, but I think you could do a lot better things with your day than replying to 100 people, you know, every single day. I think there are like other things in your business that you can work on that it's better time dedicated, right? So I would suggest just paying someone to repost your stuff. I'm doing that on LinkedIn right now. I'm paying someone to repost my stuff. And this last week, each of my posts have gotten like 10,000, 15,000 views each, right? It's been like, and this is kind of abnormal. Usually I was getting about 1,000 views, but like something happened and I'm getting like some serious engagement over on LinkedIn now, which is pretty exciting. But it's a pay to win game, unfortunately, social media right now, right? You pay, you're gonna get some good reach and you're gonna be able to grow your audience and you don't have to pay forever, right? Stack up a good size following, right? That's really targeted towards what you talk about, and then you can cut that off and you can grow. Then you can truly grow organically, right? But you need to spark it somehow, right? You need to light the fuse some way.
I'm looking at your X account right now.
Yeah.
Uh, seems like you're posting once a day. Seems like you're posting a lot of long form content, and it does seem to your point like it's super high quality content in terms of its depth, in terms of what you're sharing. And I am looking at your X account right now, but I've known that for a long time. I've followed you for a long time, and it's always really good. I, as an SEO,
Yeah.
stop and read it. You
Yeah.
clearly put a lot of time into it. It's
Yeah.
clearly for a specific target market. And that's another thing I want to ask about. When
Mhm.
did you discover your ICP? When did you discover your ideal client? When did you decide as an agency to focus in on that? And then we can dovetail into how that helped produce and define the kind of content you were going to create.
Yeah, it's a good question because, when I first started my agency, I kind of was just like, I'll take anyone, right? And I think like, I would say anyone who's starting an agency, like, I think that's an okay way to go about it, because you're just starting, you've never had a client, like, you're not gonna have someone be like, "Hey, I wanna be your client," and if you've never had a client before, you're not gonna be like, "Oh, actually, I only work in this space," right? Like, that's just not like, let's be
I'm
realistic.
barely able to get my business going, but I'm sorry, I don't focus on veterinarians.
You're not gonna do that, right? So, um, I started off taking anyone, right? But as it turned out, like, I was just primarily getting, like, e-commerce brands through X, right? And then what really kinda pushed me over the edge there and just be like, "Okay, e-commerce only," was we hit COVID, and there was no local
Mm,
business during COVID, right? So it
mhm,
was just, like, either like, the e-commerce was absolutely booming in that time.
yeah.
Everyone was starting an e-commerce brand, right? So, I saw that as a really good opportunity to just niche down into e-commerce, primarily because it was kind of the only option at that time. Like, there was no point in reaching out to local businesses or trying to capture, like, leads there. So, that's how I got into e-commerce, and, it was really hard for me to, like, make that jump even s
Yeah.
like, with my messaging, right? Because I was thinking, I'm like, "Oh my god, like, yes, I'm getting all these e-commerce leads, but I don't wanna tell everyone I'm only taking e-commerce clients, right? Like, I still want you to come to me if you're a local business because I need the business." And I was talking to, like, a buddy of mine, Ben Byrne. He had this coaching program, uh back then that I was in, and he kinda helped me, like, create content. Him and his partner, Ryan, at the time, like, they both kinda helped me create content and get aligned with an ICP and stuff like that, and he was like, "Kevel, you gotta put e-commerce in your bio on Twitter. Like, you got to." And I remember I was on that call with him, and I was like, "I don't want to, man. Like, I want all these people." He's like, "No, no, no. Like, you don't understand. When you niche down and you become an expert in a particular space, you're gonna actually get more leads because people wanna work with experts, not generalists, right?" So I did that and, I never looked back.
Interesting. And I do think that's a common concern, and
And
I wanted to kind of address it because I don't focus on e-commerce
yeah,
specifically, but I love reading your content. So to that point, as an SEO, I love reading your content. And let me dovetail that because that's the second part of my question. On X, you post a lot of content about, we'll say, how the sausage is made, right? Like how
yeah,
you're approaching SEO, which is
yeah,
interesting because you're clearly have gotten and are getting a lot of engagement and getting businesses to reach out to you. But most people that reach out to you are reach out to you because they don't know how to do this and they don't want to do it. Yet
yeah,
your content tells them how to do it. Now, this is a paradox that
yeah.
in content has existed for a long time, but talk through how it works in your business and why you approach your content that way, and then how it does actually engage and bring in the right types of clients.
Yeah, I mean, it actually works really, really well because if someone has the time, if a CEO of an e-commerce brand has the time to sit down, learn SEO, and do it, they're probably not a good fit for us, right? They're probably not, like, at the scale where we feel like we can actually help them because the thing with SEO now is, like, maybe, like, 5 years ago, you could take a brand new website with, like, not great, like, advertising and not great brand value and still rank them, but it's different now, right? Like, in order to rank in Google, like, you need a lot of other, uh, a lot of other, like, signals outside of just links and content. You need branded searches, right? You need, like, brand authority, right? So, like, we wanna work with those guys with brand authority anyways, and the guys with brand authority don't have time to do SEO themselves, right? They're focused on, you know, managing operations or managing growth, right? And, it's they're just focused on a more holistic they're more holistically focused on a business. They don't have time to sit down and do the SEO, right? So in that sense, it's like if my content, like, when it goes out and say you have a portion of people who, are willing to do the SEO themselves, like, that's fine. Like, please do it yourself, right? Like, it's like no shade on them or anything like that. But like, if you have the time to do it, it's probably just not a good fit, right? We want to work with the guys that are a little bit bigger and, have more authority in the space, right? And have, the budget to hire an agency. And, so it works out in that sense, right? It actually does kind of dial in that ICP a little bit more. And it shows authority too, right? It shows expertise, right? Like, I think the more vague your content, the more, you know, questions people are going to have. They may not fully trust you, right? Especially if you're holding things back and you're being more general. The more specific you are, like, it gets people to engage. It gets people to really to read your content and to really care about what you have to say. Cause like, like, over the last 5 years, content has changed a lot, right? When I first started, like, people were super vague and it was all just, like, platitudes and stuff like that. It was like
Mhm.
you're kind of in an echo chamber and everyone just kinda said the same thing over and over again, right? So, if you have true expertise and you don't, like, showcase that, you're really doing yourself an injustice because you're not sharing, the real reason people should follow you, right? You're not some, like, generalist guy trying to, like, get engagement. Like, you actually know your stuff and you're worth following, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. It's like you're someone who's actually worth following in a world where everyone is trying to build a personal brand now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really great. I love that we got to go into that because again, there's a huge opportunity for people listening who are looking for a way to generate revenue, but are
Mhm.
struggling to find a way to get clients in the same spot you were. Like, man, I tried this cold outreach, I tried this and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's still available for people to take advantage of, but they have to have a specific approach. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
key that I'm hearing from what you're sharing.
Yep.
Um, well,
Yep.
hey, I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't ask someone who runs an SEO agency about SEO in 2025 and 2026.
Yeah.
Most people listening are going to know the basics. I don't want to ask you about the basics.
Mhm.
But from a high level, what's changed? What's changed about your approach to SEO this year and maybe into next year? We can get into AI if you want. We can stick strictly on the SEO side and kind of park the AI conversation for a little while. We can talk about how they're so blended together now, but what's changed?
Yeah. I mean, a lot has changed. Our processes have changed, a lot. Our marketing has changed a good bit too. Um, I would say the biggest change, so I can really only speak to e-commerce. I mean, I could talk a little bit about local, but I'll focus on e-commerce because that's what we do and that's what our strategies are developed for. Um, with e-commerce SEO, it's like we don't do that much top of funnel blog content anymore. We don't do that. I know there's this whole school of thought of topical authority, right? And I'm not saying that's not entirely true, right? But I do believe that this idea of posting top of funnel blog content to build topical authority is a little bit, you know, I don't I don't know if outdated is necessarily the word, but I think it's misunderstood. I think topical authority is built through a lot of other things as well. Like if you have a brand that sells like mouth tape or something like that, right? And you run a lot of ads around mouth tape and people are searching your brand plus mouth tape. I think that builds topical authority around mouth tape, right? I don't think necessarily writing 100 articles on every single question keyword about mouth tape is the only way to build topical authority. I think it works. I don't think it's the only way. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, right? So, in that sense, we used to do that, right? We used to cover the entire funnel, but then what we found was that like with AI and stuff like that content just doesn't generate sales, right? Or it doesn't generate clicks, right? And it also doesn't generate sales. So, it's like we kind of looked at how things were changing and we're like, okay, how can we like align everything with being like very revenue focused, right? How do we like get rid of all the vanity stuff and just focus on the stuff that drives an ROI, right? So when we kind of came to that conclusion about topical authority still being generated through like other marketing means. We're like, okay, maybe let's pause on the top of funnel content that doesn't generate that many clicks, doesn't generate that many sales, and let's go further down the funnel, right?
Mhm.
So what we do is we focus on a lot of like brand versus brand keywords, or like brand alternative keywords, or product versus product keywords, right? That stuff still generates clicks, and even if it doesn't generate clicks and it's cited in AI and like you write an art, say you're Walmart and like say your competitor's Target, and let's say you write an article about Walmart versus Target and you just shit on Target or whatever, and like you just say Walmart is way better. And like in the AI picks that up and that drives sales, that's great. Or say if someone clicks through and they buy from you, that's great too, right? Um, but we've been able to literally scale businesses just with these like brand versus brand queries. Like we worked with this one luggage company. Their blog content was making them like 20 grand a month. Just their blog content, which is
Wow.
crazy, right? Like you
Yeah.
think that like, you want to rank products and collections, which I'll get into that a bit. That's our primary focus, right? But if you can have your blog content with like really easy keywords that doesn't take a lot to rank, if you can get that thing generating a lot of revenue, like that's serious money. Um, and the beauty of that is because it doesn't take that long to rank those queries, you pay for the SEO retainer faster and clients stay with you, right? Because clients
Right.
don't want to spend 6, 12 months waiting for their investment to come back, right? They need something, they need something faster. And these brand versus brand keywords, you know, get them revenue a lot faster. And it also like differentiates you from other SEO agencies, right? Like I'm sure like you look at a lot of brands that use an SEO agency, and either you see their traffic just flying up on Ahrefs or SEMrush, right? And you look at the traffic and it's all informational queries, and you're like, this doesn't even convert for you, right? So it's like this is another way we kind of separate ourselves from other agencies that are so focused on top of funnel traffic. You can tell them like, hey, look, man, your agency, it's driving clicks, but it's not even making you money. Like our service will drive clicks, but the clicks will actually make you money too. Right. So we're kind of positioning ourselves a little bit differently, more as a revenue first agency. And like, obviously considering AI and how it steals clicks, we're focusing on content that doesn't really, where the AI doesn't steal as many clicks. Right. So focusing on those kind of middle, lower funnel blog posts, and then focusing on collection pages. Right. So collection pages, that's the main money maker, right? You got to optimize that. You got to put content on the collection pages. That hasn't really changed a whole lot, right? You want to build out more collection pages targeting more like niche products and stuff like that. So, but in terms of like what has changed, like I think strictly for like just SEO, like Google SEO, like that's like the biggest thing that has changed is just like how you do blog content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned it, so I'll ask about it because
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get questions about it. E-commerce SEO, traditionally, historically, e-commerce SEO 101, you got a
Yeah.
homepage, you got collection pages, you got product pages. Collection pages are the collection of travel luggage versus the collection of luggage, probably a bad example. Say you're a furniture company, you got your collection of couches, you got your collection of tables, you got your collection of armchairs, and then
Yeah.
product pages would be the
Yeah.
individual product, individual couch, etc. So you're talking
Mhm.
about collection pages. That hasn't changed. Why hasn't that changed? And why does it still make sense to target the collection page first and foremost?
Yeah, so a lot of those transactional keywords, like, they don't get, like, AI overviews. I think, like, some of them do, but the majority of them actually don't have AI overviews. So, because of that, I mean, it's the AI overviews that are changing everything, right? Like, it is just pushing, your 10 blue links so much further down the page, and when they're not there, it's just 2022 SEO, right? So, it hasn't really changed. That's primarily the reason, right? Like, you know, focus on this keyword that don't have the AI overviews, right? It's a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I know that when we talked last, which was 4+ years ago now,
Yeah.
you saw your links as being tremendously valuable for businesses in
Mhm.
order to build authority and help businesses grow. Um, the new conversation as it relates to AI, SEO, LLMs, and that sort of thing is that links now also help in the LLMs to build authority and to help your brand to get mentioned.
Yeah.
Obviously, LLMs drive significantly less traffic, though. So, how has this all played in with you as you're building authority for your brand? We've talked about what type of content you create and why. We've talked about what types of pages you target and why. Where do links, authority, and all that come into play for you, both from the SEO side of things, but also as you kind of combat and work with the ever-changing AI landscape?
Yeah, I mean, link building, it's arguably more important than ever, I would say. Um, Primarily because, like, when you look at, like, an SEO campaign, um, when you look at, like, say you're trying to outrank a competitor, right? It's like, you can get your website as technically sound as theirs, right? You can create as good with AI, you can create the
Especially
great
nowadays, right?
yeah, like, you can create the greatest content ever, right? There's, like it's very hard to separate yourself with content now, right? But the things you can't always match are the links, right? Like, you can reach out to, you can reach out to companies that link to the competitor, right? But you can't guarantee you'll get the placement, right? Sometimes those links are fully natural and, like, they're just, like, not gonna do a link, right? So, like, link building is truly one of the only ways to separate yourself, in SEO. Right. Outside of like, there's a lot of other factors outside of your control, like brand awareness, branded search, brand mentions, all that good stuff, right? But in terms of like strictly the SEO tactics, it's like link building is like the number one separator between brands. So for that reason, it's more important than ever. And like link building is like it's still so effective, right? Like in all of our campaigns that we run, it's like, 20 to 30% of our work is content, and then like 70% is like links,
Hmm.
right? It's always been like that. It hasn't changed. So it's like anyone who's like trying to get into SEO or doing SEO, like, I would still focus very heavily on links. It's very important for, Google search, and it's very important for AI search as well.
Are your clients asking for AI, LLM,
Mm.
GEO
Oh,
services? I hit every buzzword, by the way. Tried to hit as many of them as I could. And I ask from a high level, I'm curious. I'm sure people are curious at an agency of your size, like what are people asking for? And then what are they like? Do they understand that it does not drive as many clicks, but it's important for visibility? Are they asking because it's just the 2025 marketing buzzword? Like, I'm just really curious. Like, you're on the ground, and I'd love to hear your take on what you're seeing from your clients.
Yeah, no, everyone's asking about it. Everyone is asking, especially like new brands that are trying to come on for SEO. They always ask about AI SEO. Like people actually come on just for AI SEO. Like they when they book like strategy calls, they're like, yeah, we want to get AI SEO going. So yeah, it's huge. Like if you're an SEO agency and you're not providing AI SEO services, you are really shooting yourself in the foot because that is like the big buzzword right now. You need to gear a lot of your marketing, a lot of your content towards AI SEO. It is, huge mistake not to. Now, where things get kind of fun is like, what is AI SEO? Like,
That was gonna be my next question.
how do
Tell
you,
me how you're doing AI SEO.
yeah, how do you do AI SEO? And then like, and
And
brand,
you,
what do we do?
yeah,
How do we do it? And the reality is like what we found, and we have a lot of data, right? We have a lot of data on clicks, client, how clients are appearing in AI models versus how they appear in Google. I know people say that like ChatGPT uses Bing, but there's actually proof out there that they use Google too. They're like
yeah,
there's actual proof. Someone did this really interesting test case where they made up a word and and then they like wrote an article about some made up word and then they no indexed it from every other search engine besides Google. And they asked ChatGPT what that word was and ChatGPT cited the article that Google had indexed, but Bing didn't have indexed, right? So it's like, people literally ask ChatGPT like, "Hey, what search engine do you use?" And they'll use Bing. And they say they use Bing, but and they just assume they only use Bing, but they use Google too. Um, Now there's also a very high correlation between ranking at the top of Google and getting cited in ChatGPT.
mhm,
Very high correlation, right? Um, Now ranking in Google is not the only way to optimize for AI models, right? You also do need like presence on external websites, right? I would say that like ranking at the top of Google is probably like 70-80% of it. And then the other like 20 to 30% is like appearing in other authoritative sites, right? So I'm talking about Reddit, right? People like AI models love to cite Reddit. I don't think they cite Reddit as much as they used to in the past, but they still cite like Reddit Quora a lot, right? So you want to have some kind of strategy where you are going in and you are getting your brand reference in comments, in threads, in applicable subreddits, right? That's really important to get your brand mentioned there. It's also really important to like have some kind of PR strategy where in listicles for like products related to your brand, you appear, right? So whether that means that you're creating your own parasite articles and you list yourself at the top, or you have like you do some PR and like if there's an article coming out, you get yourself listed. You make sure you get yourself listed like within that article, like however you want to do it, like it's super important. But a lot of it honestly is traditional SEO mixed with some PR elements, right? And then like, you want to secure your brand on all social media platforms, get it in like BBB, right? Get it, on like if you're a local business, get it on Nextdoor, right? Like you want to secure your brand's socials and stuff like that and like kind of have like that presence. But you know, it really is it's a lot of traditional SEO mixed with PR. And there's a lot of tools out there that are coming out and saying like, "Oh, use this tool and we'll rank you number 1. AI models will get we'll get you full visibility," whatever. They charge an obscene amount of money. And, at its core, when you take off all the fancy designs and stuff like that, it's just a keyword research tool for LLMs, and it's just telling you, "Hey, this is what people search create content for," right? So, I would advise people not to fall into all the traps that are being set up by a lot of people who are coming into the industry and seeing it as like a really quick way to make cash because it's being utilized like that right now, right? People
yeah.
see this AI SEO as a really big cash grab, and they're tricking a lot of people into thinking that like you need a certain SaaS tool or you need a certain strategy, right, to make it work. But I'm here just to say like it's really not that different from traditional SEO. There are some differences as I mentioned before. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how we've been conveying it to clients, and it's been working. I mean, in our reporting, we track you know clicks from AI models, and I just posted something on X like I think like 3 or 4 days ago where we had a client where, they made like 24 grand from ChatGPT this past year, and most of that was just in the last couple months as they started
Mm.
in in, uh, in the LLM. So, our approach works. It definitely works, and, I'll post content about it and people disagree, right? But that's just the state we're kind of in right now. Where like, people are still trying to figure this thing out, and everyone has kind of their opinion. But I'm just going based off the data, right? I see our clients' traffic from ChatGPT increasing, and that tells me what we're doing is working. What we're doing is working.
Are you reporting on anything other than just clicks from a ChatGPT or other LLMs? Are you looking at visibility? Are you tracking that? How are you tracking it? How are you showing it to them? Are they interested in the visibility side of things or just the clicks and the revenue?
So far people haven't really cared about the visibility side of things. They're more just interested in like the clicks and revenue because the visibility is like it's tough. I don't think anyone's fully figured out the visibility thing. Like we have Ahrefs, like we've purchased that thing. It's not that good, honestly. Like it barely shows anything, right? But the thing is like with keywords on Google, they're kind of shorter. And so it's like it's easy to get data because there's a lot of like keywords used repetitively, right? But with LLMs, it's almost like you're just writing out a sentence. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a little bit different, right? It's like there's a lot of different ways people write out that sentence. Like, where can I buy X online? Where can I buy X? Where is the best place to buy X? Right? Like, there's a million ways to like kind of like put stuff out there. Um, so in full transparency, we're still trying to figure out the best way to showcase that visibility just because even these SaaS tools, they're not like the best yet. They're not getting every single query out there. So for now, we're kind of, you know, explaining this idea that AI SEO is very similar to traditional SEO. We're tacking on like Reddit services, right? We're tagging on like PR services as well to get some of those parasite things out there. So, we have a couple other additional services that we're offering to do that. And then we're showcasing, LLM traffic, LLM sales. And clients have been pretty happy with that. Again, it's really, really early on. I'm sure this is going to develop. I'm sure we're going to figure out better ways to kind of track, LLM queries and stuff like that. But this has been a good start to it all.
Love it. Yep. I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a bit of a gold rush right now in terms
Yes.
of a lot of people are flocking to it.
Yeah.
And, hey, how was the original gold rush? Well, it was pretty hard for people to figure out what was working and what wasn't working.
Yeah.
But they knew that someone was succeeding, and that's what brought them there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want. I know we're coming to the end here, but dovetailing off of AI,
Mm.
and that's that we've had a great conversation about client facing AI. But how have you, as an agency, infused AI into your back end? Have you? I'm sure you have, but in what areas have you found its biggest impact? Has it been in making you guys more productive, cutting costs, improving margins? Like, where have you guys utilized AI to make yourselves, more efficient, more effective, more profitable?
Yeah. The biggest thing, like, we're still trying to integrate AI more into the business in terms of like, keyword research and stuff like that. But one area that we have effectively integrated AI is just like scheduling tasks and, like I guess a good way to explain it is like we use Google Sheets a lot, right? And so I've been using AI to like create Google Sheet script to like automate a lot of stuff. Like a lot of the onboarding tasks like are fully automated, right? A lot of like actually, you know what? One area that we did improve on the SEO side is like running audits and stuff like that. When you put like a screaming frog scan into a sheet, like I use AI to create like a script that basically goes in and like, takes those pages, color codes the errors and stuff like that, breaks them out, breaks out different pages to break out like, your collections, your pages, your 404 errors, like all that stuff, right? So we have used AI to like speed up kind of like some of those more tedious, smaller tasks just so you don't have to think of it and like, it improves efficiency too because those small tasks they're easy, but if you miss them, right, it kind of messes everything up. So that's where we've kind of focused is just like automating Google Sheet tasks a little bit quicker using AI to code scripts. But I've been diving more into like N8N more recently to kind of build like AI agents and stuff like that. I am a little bit, I think I am a little bit behind the eight ball there, but it's something that like, over the next like 3 to 4 months, I want to get into a little bit more just to like kind of automate things a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and again, that's changing so fast that by the time you get into it, there might be some new tool that you'll need to
Yeah.
get into instead.
I think there's like Opal. I was looking at it a lot last night actually. I think like Google released a new tool called Opal, and I think there might be a third. I think ChatGPT is releasing their own one too. So it's gonna get crazy here pretty soon.
As if it hasn't already. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun talking to you. I think, you and I live in similar worlds, day in, day out. So it's kind of it's all we don't catch up enough, but it's always fun talking because so much of what you're sharing, I feel the same and am doing the
Yeah.
same and et cetera, et cetera. Um, hey, so I guess I what my last question is any thoughts on I don't want to call it future proofing the business that you're in because that is impossible right now if you're servicing anybody in the online marketing world. Like, it is so volatile and so ever changing. Opportunity abounds, but also tons of things that are changing constantly. But as you look towards next year and the years beyond that, what are you doing to try to make sure that your business continues to stay ahead of the curve, continues to grow, or at least stay at a very, very lofty place that you're in right now?
Yeah.
And again, I'm just curious. This question probably more for the person who might be where they want to be, but worried about the future.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's a really great question, and I think my answer might be a little bit different than what people would expect, but it's actually more of a mindset. It's kind of more of a mindset change, right? So instead of focusing on like XYZ, what do you do? I would say mentally, you should embrace change, right? And the reason why I say that is because when the AI stuff first came out, I still remember 2 years ago when the AI overviews came out. In my head, I was like, I just kept telling myself, nothing's gonna change, nothing's gonna change, everything's gonna be okay. Because like it gave me anxiety, right? And then like when ChatGPT started picking up steam, I was just like, no one's gonna use it, no one's gonna use it, it's fine. Like Google, it's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. I just try to ignore it, right? And it wasn't until I embraced the change over the last, like, 6 months to the last year, where I started getting excited about the business again, and I wanted to put in the work, right? Like, I mean, just, like, 2 weeks ago, I rebuilt my entire website from scratch, spent the entire week, like, all week. I had fun with it, I loved it. I wanted to, like, change the messaging to be like, "Hey, we do AI SEO now," and stuff like that, and I loved every minute of redesigning the website because I was just excited about the future. Right? If it had I kept that old mindset of like, "Oh, let's just ignore it and pretend like it's not there," I probably wouldn't have been excited to do that. I probably would have stayed behind the 8 ball. So, like, it's I would say just try to embrace the change, be excited for the future, right? Like, trust yourself that, no matter how things shake out, you'll be able to adapt, right? We always adapt. SEOs have notoriously been known to be able to adapt over the years, right? And that's not going to change over the next few years. Like we're going to figure this out. We're going to figure out how to appear in AI. I mean, we already have, right? A large part of it, but we're going to stay on top of the 8 ball. We're going to figure this thing out, and this industry is going to survive. So if you trust that and believe that, and trust in yourself to be able to like kind of keep going along with it and, keep pushing through, you'll stay excited about this industry. You'll stay excited about your business. And it's not going to take that much work to like push yourself and adapt, right? Because it'll be fun. It'll be a fun challenge. So that's my advice. It's more of a mindset thing. Just, keep going. Don't give up. And, we're all going to get through this.
Figured you'd have some good words. Your website is inboundpursuit.com. I mean, where can people learn more about what you're doing? Your X account, I don't have it up anymore. Where can people follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah. Follow me at SEO Keval, Keval. And, you can check out my LinkedIn if you want. I kinda post the same stuff from X over to LinkedIn, but honestly, check out inboundpursuit.com, at SEO Keval on X, and, yeah, that's where to find me.
If you're cool, you'll go hang out with you on X, and
Yes.
yeah, because but if you're into the LinkedIn stuff, you're there too.
You're into it. If you're into it, I'll be there too.
Oh, I love it. Hey, Keval, it's been if you told me right before we hit record, July 14th, 2021. So 4.5 years later, here we are
Wow.
recording a second episode, checking in with you. Congrats on your success, man. It's so
Thank
cool to see how much you've grown in that 4.5 years.
thank
And thanks again. I'm reminded of just how direct and honest you were in your first interview. Same today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people did too. So I appreciate you being back on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again, but hopefully not in 4 years. Hopefully short.
Yeah, let's not do 2030. Let's try to do a little before that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. We'll talk again soon. See ya.
Uh, Thanks.
All right, before we wrap up, one last reminder. If you still haven't checked out how AI tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and even Google are seeing your brand, well, now's the time. Our GEO Snapshot audit at 201 Creative breaks down your visibility across 5 key categories, and it shows you exactly what to fix so you start showing up in AI-driven search. We've already done this for a lot of Niche Pursuits listeners over the last couple of weeks, and we're keeping this free snapshot offer open just a little bit longer. You'll get your visibility score plus clear next steps tailored exactly to your brand. Go to 201creative.com/GEO snapshot to claim it. Again, that's 201creative.com/GEO snapshot. Grab your spot while it's available. All right. Talk to you on the next podcast.